we also understood in the chapter 1, in the early part of the chapter 2 of the Gita, that there is an RSM syndrome we are suffering from, and at the same time we also understood that we are not worthy of suffering. So our master took us to a journey that who we are. So I've yet to answer in the next group session that if we are consciousness, why we have physical bodies. So that seems to be a good question to her, but obviously so. So you see, if we see that you liked the verse, and that is the one of the most important verse, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parth manogatan, means Atmani eva atmana tushtah sthita prajna tada uchyate. Who is the man of steady wisdom? I am satisfied with the self, I am with the self, I am for the self. Who says this? I am satisfied with my real self. Who says this? The pure ego. The pure ego says, I am satisfied with myself, I am satisfied for myself all the time. So that guy, that seeker now has become a perfect. So seeker is known as sadhaka, and the seeker, when he realizes the ultimate contentment is in the self, and that is what we have studied in the 6 characteristics of the real self. Now there is a pragmatic approach in the verse number 61. Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asit matpara. So matpara is a very important word. So here the Krishna says, now is the time for your mind to fix on me. He directly represents, fix on me. So we have understood the first point, that withdrawal of the senses by discernment and dispassion means the goal of life is established and the lifestyle has been changing. Second point is that now I am sitting for meditation. So it is a preparation for meditation. Now that is what I do, being comfortable, breathing, etc., etc. You can also include in that purification of the mind, mantra chanting, sit firmly. That means that I am sitting firmly means what? My now intellect is not distracted to anything. That I thought is not seeking anything outside, neither from outside nor from inside. And third point, only in that state I can realize that I can fix my mind on Krishna. And from there I can reveal the 6 characteristics of the real self. But question comes, what happens? Why we are not able to do? We have understood clearly. So then Krishna, the way Krishna teaches is unique. Then he said, do you remember RSM syndrome? Yes, I remember. Do you remember I am not worthy of suffering? Yes, I remember. But still I suffer. I have suffering at moments, Even I understood the concept, and still my mind picks up. What my mind picks up? Desire. So what are the challenges for a seeker is what we are going to study from the verse number 62 to 72. Or you can leave the last 2 verses where he summarizes and offers the introduction to the 3rd chapter. So now the beauty of understanding. What I said, the psychology of desire, psychology of delusion, psychology of ego, or you can also say the psychology of stress. You can use many different words. So 62 verse. Dhyayato vishayan punsah sangaste puja jnayate sangat sanjayate kamah kamat krodho abhijayate. The more I explain it, I cannot end explaining it, but I'll be Dhyayato vishayan punsah sangam teshu upajayate sangat sanjayate kamah kamat krodha abhijayate. Never ever forget, if I summarize this, object of senses, 2 sense organs, and this in the mind processed. Mind is processing the object of sense organs with the likes and dislikes. So just it is good to note down and never forget this whenever we have RSM syndrome and whenever we are suffering. So in this verse, first line you can write down, so that is how I remember. Objects of senses, 2 sense organs, 2 likes and dislikes in the mind. Second line, thinking over likes and dislikes, 2 attachment and detachment, 2 desire. And third line, desire not fulfilled, agitation, stress, frustration, insecurity, unhappiness, dissatisfaction. We entered into the RSM syndrome. But this is just the beginning. In the second 62 verse, he is going to explain. So these are the 3 lines. Any object of the sense organs, the mind processes that, and then by default it has likes and dislikes. By default. Nobody says that you like this. Did anyone say that you like this and you become my soulmate? Nobody says that. Nobody says in the world. Even my eyes does not say. So that is an unconscious approach. We have to understand it little deeply. The first thing is that now let me explain this verse. Mind, what is mind? Reflected consciousness. First thing to understand. What is moonlight? Moonlight is a reflected light of the sun. So first is the mind, is the medium where the pure consciousness or real self reflects. So the mind is the moon and the reflected consciousness is the working, the functioning of the mind. That is how you should understand. So it's a pragmatic approach. Now come to the pragmatic approach. I use the word 3 words. Mind is a receiving, responding, and interpretation station. The way the mind receives, responds, and gives interpretation, that is all about our life. I explained to her and she was very happy. The kid says that, witches, and she used, and I instantly entered into that discussion, and then she realized I should not have used it. But now she is quite understanding. So it is the receiving station, it is the interpretation station, and it is the responding station. That is what the mechanism of the mind is. That is how we define our life. That is how we understand our life. This is how we can easily understand how the mind works here and now. just now. So let us answer this question, another question, how the interpretation works. I can easily understand receiving and giving a responding station. That is okay. I sometimes respond in anger and hesitation and duality and a conflict. I can easily understand. I have experienced it. But it comes due to the interpretation of these objects of the senses being processed by the mind, causes the likes and dislikes, attachment and detachment, and then desire. Keep in mind. So that is why I use the word psychology of desire. So now that interpretation depends on many factors: my past experiences, my belief, my motivation, my expectation, my current context, current thought. I will explain it deeper so that you will understand the entire picture. And then you will say everything is happening in the mind. This mind is creating such a great delusion in us. How my mind responds and what are the factors that trigger the interpretation and response. First, there is always interpretation is done very fast, and then the response in terms of reaction comes. So now we need to understand what are the factors that trigger interpretation, because interpretation is before the response. So if I can go deeper into the interpretation, and then I can really purify the mind. Again, the same thing. Problem is, you can just remember purification of the mind, tremendous involved focusing of the mind, and ultimately you are sitting in meditation. You are now satisfied with the self. You are happy with the self. Come back. So that interpretation depends on many factors. It may be a pleasure, may be triggered by a thought, projecting inner needs outwardly, maybe because of biological drives, because of activation of the brain's reward system. I'm using modern science also. Look at this, science progress now, and we have explained it 2500 years ago. Interpretation also depends on my memories, tied to enjoyment or fulfillment or insecurity. Oh, so if I recognize all the trigger, first take up the thoughts. Thoughts, when we think repeatedly about something, like fantasizing, for example, of our dream car, it creates desire and attachment to that object, that car. See that? Oh, so if any thought is being repeated, I have to become aware. Mind, what are you doing? Stop this. No more repetition. But it is already creating so many impressions. I have done 5 years of meditation regularly, and I got clinging to a particular thought being repeated, and whole meditation is destroyed. Gone. So that is the first factor. Now come to the association is another factor. If we associate, for example, you associate ice cream with a reward of pleasure and comfort. Association of anything. My mind instantly rewards now with a reward of pleasure or comfort, or maybe reward, or maybe a pain. It builds an eager desire to eat it again for the sake of ice cream. Ice cream is such a small thing. Connecting the smell of a freshly ice cream, my goodness. Or maybe I have experienced the taste and the fragrance of the ice cream in the childhood. So that comes under memory. So here we are talking of only association. Understand, these are the different independent factors. So we have millions of association. Sitting in a particular posture is also an association, but anyhow, that is not going to cause any problem. We should have that. Third factor, the projection. If we feel insecure about ourselves, we may project that a new outfit will finally make me confident. Oh, I was feeling insecure yesterday. I attended the Gilbert Police Academy and I saw that nobody is noticing me. So now today I will have a different outfit, and so that the people will notice me. Unnecessary. These are not the thoughts, but they come unconsciously. They come unconsciously. Oh, all the cops were wearing the black, so I will wear the black pant and the shirt, and then I will go. It's just unconscious association. What we are learning, how the interpretation works, and before the interpretation, what are the factors that depends on that causes this inner deficiency. I lack something. I have some guilt in the inferiority complex in my infinity. Feeling of loneliness also. Feeling of loneliness. I want to be with you or with someone. Oh, there is no lack of excitement. There is no excitement in my life. So when there is a feeling of loneliness, lack of excitement can also generate desires to fill the void. And to fill the void, I have to do some work. And ultimately, that pertains to the desire. It may result into overeating. A lot of people talk about binge eating. I said, no, I can take care of it. I know how to take care of it. I'll make you understand the mind. So binge eating, overeating, etc., etc. Sometimes we feel bored. One thing is very clear. If I feel bored to myself, I can bore everyone in the world. I never think in this way. Why should I feel bored with myself? Why should I feel restless with myself? These are all inner deficiency caused by the sense of ego, the I thought.
When my daughter says, I'm bored, I tell her, only boring people get bored. Are you boring?
Yeah. We have to educate them. Then we have a habit energy or habit. Oh, I have a habit of drinking tea or a coffee and I'm sitting alone. I have to do nothing, so let me grab a cup of coffee. Unnecessary. No. It helps me. I was exhausted. I worked for a couple of hours. So I was just finalized another book, and I'll be sending you a copy for the 18th. I made it very simpler process of the Tattva Bodha, the first part. So it took me almost today. I completed it in 5 hours. So habit. Now, if you are absorbed with a focus in a particular work, that habit you can avoid. Another factor, there are many other factors, but I'm considering the main factors. Then you have a biological drive also. Drive means it is not a thought, it is a mechanism. You push the button, your car starts. Now the engine is starting. It's a mechanism. So feeling hungry generates the innate desire to seek out the food. The physical feeling of thirst generates the desire to seek out and drink water. Oh, at dinner time, so if we are taking a dinner at a particular time, my mind says, oh, okay, now is the time for a dinner. Oh, it's already 8:15, so I have to go for a dinner. And I lose my awareness dictated by that is triggering mechanism, triggering factors. And you can also add this from the science is a pleasure center. Pleasure center. That is what we say the reward, brain reward center, sparking desire for that enjoyable sensation. Any enjoyable sensation. It may belong to the food or the sex or anything. The rush of dopamine when gambling also triggers eager desire to gamble again. Lot of things. So basically it's a pleasure reward game. And the last one is the memories. Memories, fond memories of a vacation sparks a desire in me to go for a vacation again, because I'm so busy. I'm totally exhausted. I lost my awareness doing the work. So I have to go for fond memories of the family vacations. And because unconsciously I connect myself to the world, so I am adding the other just now. I'm adding another triggering factor is how the sense organ perceives the objects of the world. So it perceives the world unconsciously, habitually, for pleasure seeking, etc., etc. All the previous factors can count on it. So I have to just maintain that awareness. Where from? Mind, where are you? What are you doing? Come back to me. It cannot be forced. You cannot enforce a discipline to the mind. It will react. And that is why majority of the people fail in reaching the final goal. But question is, what is the purpose? There must be some purpose of this interpretation. So the interpretation allows the mind to attach meaning. Meaning for a pleasure, meaning for a reward, meaning for peace, meaning for happiness. Oh, so we came down to the same thing, what we are searching. Yes, we came to the same thing. Everything, anything, the way you are writing, the way you are sitting, also has a role of the mind. It has its interpretation. Anything and everything, any action, any thought, any feeling, any emotion, it is constantly in search of the peace and happiness. And that is how the mind creates, from the interpretation, it creates a response. So we can say it is an evolutionary, it is a process of evolution. It is an unconscious process of evolution. What yoga and Eastern wisdom does, Eastern wisdom says, bring this unconscious evolution at the conscious level so that you can find the real self, so you can be satisfied by yourself, by the real self. You can be satisfied in the real self. You should have an ultimate state of the content.
Yes, you basically bring these unconscious processes and interpretations to the forefront.
To the forefront at the conscious level, so that now I can organize everything. It is required, it is not required. It needs to be dropped, it needs to be dissolved. Come on, I am free. How? The way you are driving your car. No, I have to take a right turn. I took the left turn, no problem. Let me go back. But what happens when I live unconsciously? I want to drive to home and oh, Chipotle is very good, so let me stay there. And I spend another hour there. Oh, there is a Mercedes dealer is there, so let me go there. But I have to reach home at 5, I reach home at 9. So the unconscious process of evolution takes many births. Conscious process of evolution just take one birth alone, if we are committed. Vivekananda says yoga is a process of compressing one's evolution in few hours or in few days or few weeks of earthly existence. So earthly existence, I'm attached to the body, now that attachment is gone. So that is why people who have such a determination, they have achieved that goal in few weeks, like Maharshi Raman, like few years, like Vivekananda. So that is what is all about the Eastern wisdom. It's so easy. Yes, it is so easy. So that is what, in way, this is one way of giving the interpretation to this verse. Every verse I told you is a cryptic file, encrypted. It's a GIF folder. We have to open it. Another part now we have to understand is that why does the mind likes or dislikes? Now the modern psychology gives the answer that 62 verse. Modern science gives an simple answer. It is not. I'm not happy with that. The mind perceives some things as pleasant or agreeable, but why it feels pleasant or agreeable? Why it finds unpleasant or disagreeable? I marry a girl I had dating and I soulmate, and then I got married. Now she is pleasant and agreeable, but after a few years, no, it is not a. It's a very straight answer, but it's not a right answer. It is inherent in the mind. We cannot give any reason to it. Simply it likes and dislikes. These likes and dislikes are, sometimes it is based on my past experiences, but what about the first time? So there is an element of association, there is an element of reward, there is an element of hollowness in my, so all the other previous factors comes into play. So any of these factor or more than one factor comes into play to create a sense of liking and dislike. Liking and disliking anything in the world has moved my mind from inside to outside. And then I will start searching peace and happiness outside. That is why I have a liking and disliking. That is the solid reason. Yes, science can give the reason. No, my science gives the reason because I find the comfort. I have a comfort zone with you. That's why I like you. Yes, but that is a very surface answer. I cannot find the comfort zone with any person, with any object, even you have the costliest car, even if you have a big mansion, if you have any clothes. After a few days, it's a neutral response that you dislike. So from the likes and dislikes, let us move to the attachment and detachment. So pay attention to it. Once the likes and dislikes is settled, that attachment and detachment comes only by a repeat thinking of what we like and what we dislike. Four years ago, there was something that two women were there. They are living here. I would say they are good friends of mine. But internally, they hug each other when they meet. But internally, they both have a disliking against each other. But they don't dare to say anything before me. They know my nature. I will blast on them. But they have been doing it very gently. You see what she did? And now it has reached to a climax. They started fighting on behalf of me. And I thought it is better to keep a distance from both of them. I'm not interested. Not at all. They are more or less in the same profession. I will not tell you reveal the name. So we have to be very careful about living in the world all the time. It may happen to you with your two daughters and then with the Carlene and other two kids. I have to see how my mind gives interpretation to me. So what happens? Once I recognize that interpretation, I am free. I am free. Now I know how to respond. So now what happens? So there are a lot of things that we will take up. How now question comes, how do attachment and detachment causes the desire? So we have moved from the objects of the senses processed by the mind with reference to the likes and dislikes based on triggering factors for giving us the interpretation, and that interpretation is being repeated again and again. That causes the attachment and detachment. So what happens in case of attachment and detachment? Say for I dislike you, so I want to keep a distance. That is also a desire. So we have to think in that way. I don't want a company of a person whom I dislike. That is also a desire. And I like a company of someone with whom I like and feel the presence. So what is that triggering factor of seeking the presence and keeping a distance? That is what the desire is. No. Let us make it in a different way. First factor in what is desire? Seeking something other than me. That is the first factor in the desire. Second factor in the desire, then you have to ask why I am seeking something other than me, because I have projected happiness in that object, in that person, in that event. Third, mind triggers an effort to acquire, to possess, to enjoy that object. Let me limit myself to the three factors. We'll discuss in detail when other verses come. So that prevents me to realize the real self is the nature of permanent peace and happiness, because my mind cannot go in a two direction. My mind says, no, you are responsible for my peace and happiness, I must possess you. So there is a sense of forgetfulness. Forgetfulness is ignorance. Ignorance causes the delusion. Delusion is one of the RSM syndrome. And there is an attachment and detachment. That is what we understood in the first chapter. So we are just going back to the first chapter and understanding deeply. We simply understood attachment and love and other factors. But here I was waiting for it. So seeking something other than me, one, other than me. That me is the real self. Because the mind does not know it. So it feels a sense of emptiness and hollowness, and all those triggering factor comes and it gives the interpretation. And then it says, no, let us seek something outside. But why I seek something outside? Because I have already projected happiness there. I feel that object or that person will definitely bring me peace and happiness. Why? Because I lack peace and happiness in myself. You can add another fourth factor. Oh, so I have a sense of feeling that happiness is not in me. And that is such a deep impression in my mind. That is why I am constantly running. I am absolutely busy. I am excited. I fight. I angry. And then you can easily answer why I am seeking something outside through the desire. Because I feel unhappy. I feel insecure. I am dissatisfied. That is why I am seeking. That is the simple answer everyone gives. But they don't know the entire mechanism of it, and that is why they get caught into the cycle of the world constantly. You can again ask yourself another question, that how does desire lead me to look outside myself? Same thing, because either you can say I'm searching peace and happiness, I have projected peace and happiness, and I feel the projected happiness is the real happiness. But then why I am seeking happiness? Because I feel unhappy inside. But why I feel unhappy inside? Because I feel I'm lacking something. So as long as this cycle continues in the mind, how can we think of absorbed completely into the meditation? No way. No, I have understood intellectually, but no, you have to purify the mind before you reach to that state. You have to remove the ignorance by understanding. What are, you see that? Now see, we have never, Eastern wisdom never deals with anger or frustration directly. It says desire is anger. Why? Because now I have projected happiness on the object. Now I am making an effort. I don't get it. I am agitated. I am angry. I am frustrated. So that desire becomes likes and dislikes. That desire becomes the attachment and detachment. That desire becomes the anger. That desire becomes the greed. That desire is the delusion. That desire is the ego. That desire is the jealousy. So we go back and we say, go to the root. Hence, there is no anger management as such. As long as this process is continuing in the mind, I may intellectually force myself not to be angry, but the anger will come up again. So as such, there is no anger management. There has to be a desire management. I don't have any desire from you. How can you make me angry? And when we strongly desire something, we fixate on it and feel we cannot be happy without it, and I don't get it, so I'm angry. Unfulfilled desire leads to frustration, agitation, stress, and anger. Any kind of stress. I simply become aware. Let me find out which desire I have, and then find out the sense of attachment and detachment and triggering factor. Oh, this is the triggering factor. That is why I am upset today. Sometimes our mood swings. It is only because of the desire. You can simply say desire. You can simply say likes and dislikes. You can simply say I'm living unconsciously. So you see that you can give interpretation in variety of ways. So every master has given different interpretation. I lose the desired object. That leads me to grief and anger, RSM syndrome. My attachment to an object creates a sense of insecurity. If I lose that object, what will happen? One day you are going definitely to lose it. Fast forward 100 years. Let us imagine that we will continue to live for another 100 years. Fast forward. You are 143 and I am 165. What after that? We both are in cremation ground. So where the attachment is, I was attached to the wealth, it is gone. So I become aware of that. It can go now or it can go after 100 years. So I have to build a different relationship with every object and a person and a thing, with discernment and dispassion. That is another topic we will take. Otherwise, what is going to happen? The craving, more addiction, unhappiness. It will amplify and less craving. And it will cause unnecessary desire. So this is what is the answer of how desire can lead to anger, agitation, stress, and the suffering. But before the desire pops up in my mind, behind the mind, the working and attachment and detachment, likes and dislikes, and object, behind that, how does the mind give the interpretation? I have already discussed about these triggering factors.
So I was journaling yesterday, And I think it's relevant to this, but I was contemplating that uh,
See that even we have everything is going automatically, but how to express it? And I say, I am the doer and the enjoyer. I'm not getting this. From where this false I notion enters into the mind, it comes due to the ignorance. And that is why one master says, transcending this ego is awakening.
yeah, I thought I could witness my automation, but can I change my response?
Part we need to think how much work we have to do inside our mind. How much work. In the morning I have one set of desire, in the afternoon I have another set. Oh, no automation, mind, come back. I don't need this. What will happen? You were thinking until today that you are fully busy. Now you feel that you are ever free because you have broken that automation. And that also, you lose the sense of being a doer and the enjoyer. What a great relief. Only a seeker can understand this. Is all the desire dangerous according to this verse? No. I am hungry, let me go and eat food. I am thirsty, let me drink the water. So after drinking the water, do I crave for the water? No. Do I depend on it? Yes, at the physical level. So for the physical survival, they are the basic needs that will aid my evolution. Why? If I'm not hungry, if I'm not thirsty, I can easily sit in meditation. So we have to examine. So now you know, you have already explained how to put this verse into the practice all the time. You have already explained it. No, I have to break that sense of automation. When, where, or in all time, all locations. I'm aware what's happening. The body is moving into an action. Why? Mind, where are you taking the body to? Going to the restroom? Yeah, that's okay. Go ahead. Internally, it is just an awareness. Just an awareness. Nothing else is required. It is very easy and it is extremely difficult. It is extremely difficult and it is just a play and a fun. That is what the Krishna teaching is. So it may be due to the ignorance, it may be due to the ego sense, it may be due to, you can say, the distorted perception. What is distorted perception? I gave an example of this young guy who said, I gave 200% to this girl. I said, who told you? Distorted perception. Now my mind instantly responds to those people. Who told you? You have been with me for the last 2 years. She met you just a month ago. You gave her 200%, and you find sometime it challenging to even pay me. So he started laughing. No, sir, no. I said, I know it, sir. Whether you tell me or not, I know. No, but he is still with me. Unrealistic expectations, another reason. Fear is another reason. Same thing, same intrinsic factors. And modern science also says, you can add, but they do not give you the real sense. You can say the consumer culture. So I blame everything on the world outside. No, we don't say that. But we can even understand that. Childhood conditioning. No, it is the same mind. Whether it's a condition in the childhood or it can be conditioned now. Some news popped up that Elon Musk's dad has a son at the age of 77 years. You give the examples to attract your attention, so thank you. That is good. Your body, we have clearly located in ancient times. We said childhood, first stage of life is 25 years, where the focus should be on study. From 26 to 50 years of life, have a married life, have kids, enjoy, earn money, and from 50, that is another way to look at the life. From the 51st to 75, now your total devotion should be on studying these Eastern wisdom and living a life of discernment and dispassion, rather than thinking of procreating. And then from 76 you enjoy the enlightenment stage up to the 100 years, thinking that you live for 100 years. That is another set of approach. But you can do, if our lifespan today in the world is around 80 years, so we can divide into 20, 20, 20. That's another approach people say. Our master says that. Krodhat bhavati. Now the 63rd verse also is an eye opener. It's a mind opener. I won't say it's an eye opener, but the phrase gives us Krodhat bhavati sammoha sammohat smriti vibhrama smriti bhranshat buddhinashat pranashyati. So how we destroy our life? The first 3 lines you have written, objects of senses, leads to sense organs create a process by the mind, creates a likes and dislikes. Second, we thought, thinking over the likes and dislikes creates attachment, detachment, that causes the desire not fulfilled, hesitation, stress, frustration, insecurity, unhappiness, dissatisfaction. But no, master says no. So that hesitation, frustration, anger, if it lives continuously, anger is not that you express your anger to me physically or mentally or emotionally, but anger continues to live. Hesitation continues to live in your head. That's why you are actually busy. That's why you are running here and there. That's why you feel tired all the time. So what brings it? Confusion, conflict. That confusion, conflict altogether is known as the delusion. So that is what the Master Krishna says, Krodhat bhavati sammoha. So now we are in a delusion. It's very difficult for a man to get rid of the delusion. He says, first you treat my anger, then I will take care of the delusion. No, it is not possible. Before the anger, you go back to the attachment and detachment. Before that, you go back to the desire. And non-seeker does not want to go back. Because I do not understand. Now anger results into delusion, but what about the delusion? If I continue to live in delusion, then there is a loss of memory what is right and good in my life. There is always a loss of memory. You have already experienced it. I need not to, just a brief. And then what happens when the loss of memory is there? I continue to live with the loss of memory, that loss of memory that I'm living in a deluded state all the time, 24/7. What that means in automation, I'm living unconsciously. Loss of memory destroys my intelligence. Loss of intelligence. And when there is a loss of intelligence, my entire life is destroyed. What it does mean? Entroyed RSM syndrome is in full swing. Full swing. So in the two verses, he says, this is how we non-seeker lives, thinks, speaks, acts. That is how a non-seeker lives, thinks, and you see that. So you see the entire chain. I should always keep in my mind all the chain: objects, sense organ, likes and dislikes, attachment, detachment, desire, anger, delusion, loss of memory, loss of intelligence. And I'm living my life unconsciously in pain, in insecurity, in grief, and in dissatisfaction. There is no any other outside factor which is responsible for my suffering. See, look at this entire journey. There is no outside factor. You pick up any factor, you are deeply attached, that's why you are angry. So the time will come in your life when you will laugh at, but still we have those impressions of getting agitated, getting upset, but once you recall, reflect on it, you will have a laugh at yourself. You will laugh at yourself. Oh, leave this, drop this, finished, done. And that leads us to a higher level of awareness.
Yeah, occasionally I have these
You rightly said, it's very scary. A seeker, no, I cannot live unconsciously. No, not at all. When? Anytime. Where? Anywhere. And everywhere. No, I don't have a luxury to live like that, unconscious life, mechanical life, driven by these desires and automation. No way. When you resolve this in your intellect, and you make an internal self-effort. That self-effort is not like that you are sweating. It is just an internalizing your awareness and contemplating on the series. Oh, where is the problem? I have an attachment. There is the problem. It will take me to desire. From where it has come? It has come from the likes and dislikes. No, I am in the delusion. From where it has come? That is why it has come because of anger and frustration and where it is going to take me to the loss of memory. So I instantly remember, and the mind understands it clearly. Repetition again and again and again in your head. What is going to happen? Now we step into becoming the next level of a seeker. My practice of meditation is always alive. The moment I wake up until I retire to the bed. Every day, every moment. It is so natural to me. what seemed natural was totally unnatural. What seemed natural to me, it was totally unnatural, and you will discover that you don't feel tired now. You don't have that sense of feeling tiredness. My goodness, such a drastic change. But provided if we are not a seeker, we cannot study this. In the very beginning, Master says, I have to become a seeker. So now that you get an answer, because I don't want to be a seeker, but I want the result. Not possible. Not possible. So my anger, my agitation, any sort of frustration causes a kind of confusion in the conflict. What is confusion and conflict? It is delusion. I want to see what I have projected. That is the delusion. I want to see the mirage water, which is not there. And that results into the loss of memory. The loss of memory results into destruction of intelligence. What is destruction? Absence of discernment and dispassion. No, you see, you have to look into that twisting. Everything is there. That is why we say, no, first you understand what is discernment and dispassion. Clearly understand. Why? Because it is required. So now it lives in your memory. You have a right discernment and dispassion, and there you can make your